For the better part of a year, let's be honest, the global diamond market has been looking pretty rough. Prices were falling, big producers were pulling back. It was not a great scene. But just recently, a really surprising piece of news has sent this new wave of optimism through the entire industry. So, what's really going on? Let's break it down. First, you have to understand the pressure the market's been under. For months and months, the price index for a standard 1 carat diamond has been on a steady slide downwards. And this wasn't just some little blip, it was a serious drop that had a lot of people in the industry pretty worried. Which, brings us to the big question here. If prices have been falling that hard, that long, where is all this sudden hope coming from? What actually changed? Okay, so before we get to the good news, we really need to dig into just how much pressure this market has been facing. Let's take a quick look at the numbers behind this whole downturn. And wow, the scale of this drop is just staggering. Looking year over year, the price for a half-carat diamond absolutely plummeted by over 26%. Even the benchmark 1 carat stone dropped almost 9%. That is a massive, massive hit for any industry. So when something like this happens, how do the huge players in the industry react? Well, pretty much exactly how you'd think. De Beers, they're one of the biggest names out there, saw this weak demand and just slashed their production plans for 2026. It's a classic supply and demand move. If people aren't buying, you make less to try and prop up the prices. And right when the market was kind of settling into this slump, that's when the story takes a huge turn. A major announcement involving the US and India came out of nowhere and completely changed the mood. And folks, this is the game changer. So what is this big news? It's a potential trade deal between the United States and India. And to put it simply, this deal could make it way, way cheaper to bring jewelry from India, which is a huge hub for cutting and polishing diamonds, into the US, which is the world's biggest market for that jewelry.
Now, to really get why this is such a huge deal, you have to look at the current situation. Right now, Indian exporters face a massive 50% tariff. That's a tax on the jewelry they ship to the US. That is a huge wall to get over.
But under this new proposed deal, that rate could plummet all the way down to just 18%. And get this, there's even talk that loose gems might become completely tax-free. You can see why the industry is so excited. This one change could just totally unlock a flood of trade. And the immediate reaction to this news has been fascinating. You have exporters in India who are now just pausing their shipments to the US. It makes perfect sense, right? Why would you ship your product today and pay a 50% tax when you could just wait a little bit and maybe only pay 18? It's creating this little supply crunch in the short term, and it's really building up the anticipation. But this huge trade deal isn't the only thing that's stirring the pot here. There's another, maybe quieter trend that's reshaping the market from the inside out, and that's all about what you, the consumer, actually want. Turns out, not all diamond shapes are created equal anymore. So right now, the demand is super hot for what the industry calls long, fancy shapes. We're talking about ovals, marquises, and these long cushions. At the same time, the classic round diamond that used to be king, it's facing much softer demand. And princess cuts are looking especially weak. And the difference in price is just mind-blowing. Just changing the shape of the stone can have a massive impact on its value. A long cushion-cut diamond, for example, can sell for a 20 to 25% premium over a square one. That's an incredible markup based purely on what's in fashion. And it gets even more detailed. Right now, marquise cuts, they're commanding the absolute highest prices. The US market in particular just loves those elongated ovals. But quality is everything. A really well-cut fancy shape is rare and gets a premium price. But a poorly cut one, it's considered illiquid, which basically means it's incredibly hard to sell at any price. Okay, so we've got a major trade deal on the table and these big shifts in consumer taste. How is all of this actually playing out in the key diamond hubs around the globe? Let's take a quick world tour. Here in the United States, the mood is definitely hopeful. Dealers are getting ready for that big boost in imports once the India deal gets done, and all the reports from recent industry fairs have been really positive, with lots of trading, especially for high-end jewelry. Now, all that hope in the US is directly connected to India, where the feeling is, well, it's a mix. There's excitement about the deal for sure, but there's also caution, which is why they're holding back on shipments for now. And let's not forget, they're still dealing with tough competition from synthetic diamonds and pretty weak demand from China. Over in Antwerp, Belgium, the mood is also getting better, especially at the super high end of the market. They're seeing really strong demand for those huge stones. We're talking 5 carats and up. And there's been a healthy bump in the local trading of rough, uncut diamonds. That's always a great sign for the health of the whole industry pipeline.
And finally, if we look at Hong Kong, overall trading is a little slow at the moment as they're waiting for some big shows to happen. But if you look just below the surface, there's still a really steady local demand for diamonds, both for engagement rings and as real, tangible investments. So, what does this all add up to? If we zoom out and look at the big picture, the outlook for the diamond market seems to be one of, let's call it, cautious optimism. It feels like the worst of the price drops are behind us, but the future is still a really delicate balance. It really is a balancing act. On one side, you have these headwinds pushing against the market. You've got serious competition from lab-grown synthetics, and that sluggish demand from China isn't helping. But then, on the other side, you have these powerful tailwinds pushing it forward. The massive potential of the US-India trade deal and signs that prices in the US are finally stabilizing. All of this leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. The forces pulling and pushing on the diamond market have never been this complex. You have huge trade deals, tastes that are changing faster than ever, and this constant technological competition from synthetics. The very idea of what makes a diamond valuable is being reshaped right in front of us. And the only thing we know for sure is that the diamond market of tomorrow is going to look very, very different from the one we see today.